You know, she's probably one of the most terrifying and honestly one of the most misunderstood figures in any spiritual tradition. We're talking about a goddess who decapitates herself, drinks her own blood, and stands on top of a copulating couple. This is Chinnamasta, and her story, well, it's not about horror. It's about radical, absolute liberation.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. Chinnamasta embodies the most extreme contradictions you can imagine. She's the one making the sacrifice, and she is the sacrifice. She symbolizes life, death, and desire all fused together into one single, inseparable cycle. So to really get her, you have to look past the shock value and see the incredible truth that she represents.
And this is the central mystery, isn't it? It's an act that's so violent, so final. Yet, in the tantric tradition, it's seen as the ultimate symbol of spiritual freedom. So, what could possibly be gained by an act of self-destruction this radical? Well, that's the exact question we're here to answer.
So, to unravel all of this, we're going to take a little journey. First, we'll confront the shocking image of the headless goddess herself. Then, we'll dive deep into the meaning behind her ultimate sacrifice, the sacrifice of the ego. We're going to follow the three mystical rivers of life that are gushing from her neck, and we'll witness her absolute triumph over primal desire. From there, we'll feel the serpent's fiery ascent of pure energy, all of it leading us to her final, profound teaching, liberation through total annihilation.
Okay, so first things first, we have to confront the image head on. Our minds, they naturally recoil from stuff like this. We see decapitation and we immediately think violence, horror, death. But Chinnamasta's whole image is designed to completely shatter those preconceptions. Every single detail is a rich, esoteric symbol, and it's all pointing towards one single goal, spiritual awakening.
Now, what's so interesting here is how all these symbols tell a story. Just look closely. She's forever young, right? A symbol of eternal renewal. But she's wearing a garland of skulls, which shows she has total mastery over death. She's in a warrior's pose, not to fight some external enemy, but to wage war against illusion itself. And her chosen home? A cremation ground, the ultimate space between worlds, where the physical body dissolves and spiritual truth is revealed.
All right, let's get right to the heart of it. Her self-decapitation. It isn't an act of violence. Not really. It's a visual representation of Atma Yajna, the ultimate self-sacrifice, the sacrifice of the mind itself.
To really grasp this, we need to understand this concept called Ahamkara. You can think of it as the ego, that persistent sense of I and mine that makes us feel separate from the universe. It's the source of all our attachments and ultimately our suffering. Chinnamasta's scimitar, that is the sword of wisdom that cuts right through this fundamental illusion.
So here's the bottom line. The beheading is a metaphor. She is physically showing us the spiritual process of destroying that false self. It's all about getting rid of the limited, conditioned mind to realize a state of consciousness that is pure, boundless, and totally unified.
So if the beheading is a metaphor for destroying the ego, then what about all the blood? I mean, this seemingly gruesome detail isn't an ending. No, it's the key to understanding the very next step in the process of liberation.
We have to completely reframe what we're looking at here. This isn't mortal blood. It's prana, the vital life force of the entire cosmos. With the head, the ego, gone, this energy is no longer blocked. It flows freely through the body's subtle energy pathways, the kind of spiritual wiring known as the nadis. And this just brilliantly illustrates the yogic science at play. See, on the left, her attendant drinks from the Ida channel. That represents our lunar, emotional, inner world. On the right, the other attendant drinks from the Pingala channel, which is our solar energy of logic and reason. But Chinnamasta herself, she drinks from the center stream, the Sushumna, and that is the goal. The central channel, where the two opposites are finally resolved into a state of pure, non-dual unity.
Now let's look down at her feet for a second, because what she's standing on is just as important as what she's doing. She is poised directly on top of Kama, the god of desire, and his wife Rati, and they are, well, they're locked in sexual union.
Now, this isn't a rejection of desire or sexuality. Not at all. It's a statement of absolute mastery. Kama and Rati represent the most powerful, primal force that binds us to the cycle of life and death. By standing on them, Chinnamasta is showing she has complete control over this energy. She isn't driven by it, she is the master of it.
This comparison really gets to one of her core teachings. The very same energy that creates lust and attachment, that fuels the ego and binds us to the world, that energy can be harnessed and transformed. She teaches that this raw creative power, when you control it and direct it upwards, becomes the very fuel for spiritual awakening and liberation.
Okay, so let's put it all together. The ego has been severed, primal desire has been mastered, the energy channels are flowing freely, the stage is now set for the ultimate event in Tantric Yoga, the awakening of the serpent power. Chhinnamasta is the embodiment of awakened Kundalini. This is the divine spiritual energy that lies dormant inside all of us. When it's awakened through intense spiritual practice, it uncoils and just shoots up the central channel, the Sushumna, leading straight to enlightenment.
And she literally shows us the path. First, the awakening, as that master desire fuels the coiled energy. Second, the ascent, as that prana surges up the Sushumna, which is now clear of any ego blockage. And third, the piercing. And this is her self-decapitation. It's a metaphor for the Kundalini violently bursting through the final psychic knot in the head. It blows the top off our conditioned reality, achieving the fourth and final step, total freedom, moksha.
And let me be clear, this is not a gentle process. This is Vidyut Shakti, the force of a lightning bolt. It is an instantaneous, brilliant flash of direct perception. It's the power of the third eye, the Ajna chakra, that just incinerates ignorance in a single explosive moment. Her scimitar is that lightning.
So after deconstructing this incredibly intense and complex image, what's the ultimate takeaway? What is the core teaching Chhinnamasta is offering us?
It's that reality itself is a paradox. She is the complete cycle. By offering her own blood as nourishment, she becomes both the food and the one who eats. She is the one sacrificing, the thing being sacrificed, and the one receiving the sacrifice. She shows us that life, death, and desire aren't separate forces, but are all part of one great, interdependent, cosmic dance. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Her image conveys this raw, eternal truth. Creation is only sustained by destruction. Life is nourished by the very same forces that seem to end it. She forces us to confront the fact that everything exists in this constant, mind-bending cycle of transformation.
And this is her final, profound challenge to every single one of us. She represents a path to liberation that isn't about adding something new, but about a radical act of subtraction, the annihilation of the ego that we cling to so fiercely. Her image leaves us with a simple, yet terrifying question. Are you brave enough to cut off your own head?